dynamic set of skills, I was able to get the operations manager position to open my first hotel. That was my first opening in Longmont, and it was a Spring Hill Suites. We became number one. We were awarded a lot of awards for being number one in guest scores. The Stanley Hotel, and I don't remember, sadly, I don't remember my first day per se. It was a bit of a whirlwind. I do remember my last day. They took my picture in the Stanley steamer, which was in the lobby. I don't know if it's still there. I know they've had a lot of renovations at that property since then. Beautiful place, but everyone there was so kind. I am demanding sustainability. I'm at war against plastic bottles. I don't want to offend any vendors out there, but I really hope that, you know, some of these key contributors like Pepsi and Coca-Cola and all of those vendors out there that are still using plastic can find another way to reduce their carbon footprint. You know, we're still required as a Marriott brand to carry these products. Technology will make things more efficient for guests. Guests love efficiency, and like mobile key, you can't get any more efficient with the check-in process than that. I mean, maybe you can, but that's a very efficient check-in process, and that's what guests want when they're checking in. They want it to be fast and efficient.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of our podcast, Reshape Hospitality with Tech. I am Maria, your host, and I am joined by my co host, Kazim. In today's episode, we are excited to introduce a special guest, a top leader in the hospitality industry. She is Charlotte Tyer. She will be sharing industry insights with us that are about to reshape the hospitality industry. Charlotte, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Marie.
Tell us more about yourself and your career background. When did you start your career, your first job role, and what did you find the most interesting about the hospitality industry that motivated you to pursue a career in it?
Well, my first job was at 16 years old in Webster, Texas. I started out as a hostess in a Denny's restaurant, and about a year later or less than that, I began waiting tables, and I was really in food and restaurants and bartended a little bit until I got into hotels, which was roughly in May of 2001, so right before the 9/11 had started that year, and that was definitely a big moment in the hospitality industry. That was the one and only time I ever saw 0% occupancy in a hotel. But I started in housekeeping. I worked myself through the ranks of housekeeping because I knew some Spanish. It was very rudimentary at the time, and I sort of self-taught myself working with a Spanish-speaking team. And I think that really launched my career, along with just hard work and grit. Because that is definitely what's needed in this industry. You can't be afraid to get your hands dirty, and it's very exciting. And when I interview people, I can tell that they're true industry. They're made for the industry when they say, kind of along the same lines of myself. There's never 2 days that are the same. There's no monotony in this job. Even housekeeping, they have a pretty solid routine every day, but guests are different every day. The interactions you have with people are different every day. The problems that come up are different every single day. So the variety that this job provides and the breadth and scope of so many different things to learn is really what got me hooked.
I must say, housekeeping department is the backbone of the hotel industry, which play a great role in guest satisfaction. As you mentioned, you learn Spanish and move up quickly in the industry. So our audience would like to know more about your achievements and how did you get to the position as you're in today?
Well, so I started at the Stanley Hotel. It's a historical hotel. So in terms of technology, there was very little when I started there. We still had metal keys that we had to check out little keychains. But I moved up to GM around 2007. I got with a company, White Lodging, in 2005, right after I finished my psychology degree. And they were opening a new hotel in Longmont, Colorado. And so I applied for the operations manager position. By that time, I had had a lot of experience in housekeeping, and I had worked for about 6 months at the front desk to get that side of the experience I needed while I finished school. That really helped. I was able to do nights at the desk because housekeeping is during the day, so I wasn't really able to finish school, but that offered a new opportunity. And with that dynamic set of skills, I was able to get the operations manager position to open my first hotel. It was my first opening in Longmont, and it was a Spring Hill Suites. We became number one. We were awarded a lot of awards for being number one in guest scores in 2009. I want to say it was. I won the Service Excellence Award that year, and from Marriott International. I was a GM then, of course. I wasn't an ops manager for very long, so my advice to people who really put their nose to the grindstone in this industry, you do have to start out working a lot of hours to really prove yourself. So you've got to be willing to do that, and don't be afraid of hard work. But patience is everything. I was very impatient as a little operations manager. Like, when am I going to be a GM? Because, I saw my GM move on, and then I had another GM, and it was really only a year and a half that I was in that space. So looking back, it wasn't very long at all. But sometimes I miss those days. But being a GM is also very rewarding. I've been a GM, like I said, since 2007. I've opened several hotels since then, and I'm currently at the AC Hotel Austin Hill Country, which has won a lot of awards already, both from Marriott International. I was awarded the GM of the Year for 2022 performance for the AC Hotels brand, and for Peachtree, our management company, we've won Hotel of the Year 2 years in a row for the portfolio, along with a whole bunch of other awards they gave us.
I can feel the spark in your eyes, the way you said winning AC Hotel GM of the Year in 2022 is an incredible achievement. So, how did you feel when you received the award? So, could you speak about the struggles you face along the way to getting this recognition?
Sure. Well, that was a capital moment for me, of course. It was in Anaheim, California. That was my second Marriott GM conference in Anaheim, which is the best place to have a GM conference, in my opinion. Right there by Disneyland. It was so wonderful. So not only was I in a great place to receive the award, it was all a surprise. I actually had nominated one of my sales manager, Saran Powell, who I love dearly. She's moved on to another hotel since our time together, but I nominated her, and I knew that she was winning an award, and so I was going full in support of her. I had no idea that I was even in consideration for an award at that time. So when they announced my name at the table, Saran and we were just completely speechless. It was a great moment in time. The challenges that we faced to get that award, well, guest scores are the ultimate metric. That's the ultimate KPI that we want to focus on and achieve, because if we can get guest scores correct, then the assumption is that all the other KPIs are going to fall in line. If your guests are happy, your team is happy, the revenue's there, market share is there. So all those other things fall in line, so you can sort of consolidate the focus to GSS and get your team rallied around what the goal is. And our goal is always to be number one. My former mentor in my early days kind of struck that with me, to be number one, not to settle for second place or anything less than. And that's not an easy goal to meet. Obviously, we're not there right now. We have been. This hotel has been there a few times. We just, don't hold on to it as long as we would like to. But I know we'll be there again. we battle with turnover, and those kind of things sort of set us back every time we have new people, especially on reception. And we had a lot of turnover these last few years. The labor market, I'm sure everyone knows, has been just a roller coaster, and it's been difficult through the pandemic. So getting new people onboarded with your views and your visions and your goals and all the training they have to do and the things they need to tell our guests, that they don't always know what they don't know. And so we find out in our guest scores sometimes. But those are the major challenges. And the key is really to take guest feedback to heart very sincerely, and not treat it like, they're just upset. You don't want to dismiss any guest feedback. It is extremely valuable, good and bad. I would say the bad is even more valuable, because it gives you a highlight of where we can improve to prevent any of those problems from happening again. So it's very important to take action. I mean, there's certain things we may not always act on just because it's not feasible, or it's just an anomaly, and it's not something that's going to persist. But we have to take feedback seriously and see what we can do to remedy that. And if you can cancel out all the problems, in theory, you're going to be the top dog, if you will.
You have been work night at front desk, right? So, do you remember your first night working at a hotel? Was it memorable?
my my first day, so it was the Stanley Hotel, and I don't remember. Sadly, I don't remember my first day per se. It was a bit of a whirlwind. I do remember my last day. They took my picture in the Stanley steamer, which was in the lobby. I don't know if it's still there. I know they've had a lot of renovations at that property since then. Beautiful place, but everyone there was so kind, and I actually still have. I'll show it to you. This is in my office. So this is
Wow,
all the signatures I got when they
that was
said
amazing.
goodbye to me, from the Stanley Hotel. So, I credit my early beginnings from there, for sure.
Let's talk on the hospitality industry inside. As you know, hotels are always focused on offering unique amenities to their guests, such as smart hotel booking, room features, smoothing check-in, check-out process. These are just a few amenities I mentioned, right? That help hotels to enhance guest experiences and, of course, in increasing their revenue. If we talk about the future trends, what trends in terms of guest amenities do you think will define the hotel industry in the next 5 years that will enhance the guest experiences and help in generating revenue?
Well, I am in full support of mobile key. I love mobile key. I want everyone to use mobile key. I know that not everyone will. Some people prefer the personable check-in experience. It's my favorite part of the Merit Bonvoy program. I know all of the major brands now have some version of a mobile key check-in process, but essentially the guest using mobile key can completely bypass checking in with a person and go straight to their room, using their phone as their key device. And that's going to save a lot of labor on the labor side, while also allowing the associates to have more of a personal experience and not be so task focused, with the transactions of checking a guest in. You don't have people waiting in line. Nobody wants to wait in a line after they've been at the airport all day. So it's a win-win for everybody. And I'd like to just see more capture with mobile keys. So we do what we can here on the property to try to engage guests with that. I've sort of started an initiative with the team. I need to hammer it down a little bit more, but mobile key done by one or mobile key by three, if the team can focus on executing that deliverable early in the day, blocking those rooms and making sure that it's executed, the guest will get a notification, hey, your room's ready, you can go ahead and check in now, and they can go straight to their room. I see this process sort of fall apart when our guest service agents aren't prioritizing that early in the day. And so you have a guest checking in like, hey, I requested mobile key, but I didn't get it. So then they're processing it right then, and it's kind of lost its benefit at that point. So really trying to engage the team to understand the guest point of view, because that's part of it too. Like they don't always think like guests because they're not the travelers that our guests are, and understanding the value that adds for those guests using mobile key, and then hopefully getting more conversion from mobile key to make their lives easier in the long run.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And another than that, Charlotte, you must be aware that social media is so important today. So, do you think working with the right influencer can enhance credibility and help in attracting new guests for hotel reservations?
I definitely think in today's world, you've got to be engaged on social media. Um, you know, what it's doing is questionable. Whatever results that it's actually capturing, I can't lend it too much towards revenue. I think there are some big success stories, for certain posts at certain times, and I think the real value is just staying engaged with a customer base. It's an engagement tool. It keeps people informed. And keeps people engaged with the brand and with our property. So we are on Instagram, we're on Facebook for both our AC hotel and our rooftop lounge called Violet Sky. And so we have pages for both of those, as well as on LinkedIn. And then we use other channels as well, just to be engaged on the internet.
Do you think guests are demanding sustainability in the luxury hotels?
I definitely do. I know I am demanding sustainability. Um, I I'm at war against plastic bottles. I don't want to offend any vendors out there, but I really hope that some of these key contributors like Pepsi and Coca-Cola and all of those vendors out there that are still using plastic can find another way to reduce their carbon footprint. We're still required as a Marriott brand to carry these products, um, and they still have to be in a plastic bottle. So I'd like to see more done there so that we can at least move to aluminum or something with a smaller footprint. But yes, I am all about composting and plastic free personally. And I'd love to see the brands do more to support that as well. I definitely feel like it's something our guests want. I see a lot of speak about it, but sometimes I lend that to what we call greenwashing, because while there's a lot of speak, there's not always a lot of action being taken to support that.
Let's talk on Peachtree Group Hospitality Management that provides management services to hotels. So, can you tell us more about Peachtree Hospitality Management and the services they offer to hotels?
Peachtree, yes, Peachtree is a great company. Peachtree, on the hospitality side, as I'm sure all of Peachtree, but I'm very familiar with their hospitality side, has an amazing culture, really, really awesome people. I get to work with some really fun people every day, not just in my hotel, but throughout the company. They're all very supportive. They're all very real people. I don't know how else to explain that, but it's a good company, and they've been very good to me. They've got some great benefits. It's a great company to be a part of. They're growing like crazy right now. We're about to be at 100 hotels. They did rebrand recently to Peachtree Group instead of Peachtree Hotel Group, because as a real estate investment firm, which is their primary focus, and they're in credit, private credit equity side, they're like a one-stop shop for a commercial real estate investor. They could go in and get the loan, they can get development, asset management, the hospitality management side, and a lot of other things that an investor would need is all under essentially one Peachtree umbrella to help that investor through getting the most value out of their portfolio. But they've recently branched out into retail and office space, medical. I know they're doing a series of Starbucks in hospitals. So I don't have a whole lot of information about that, but I would definitely vouch that hotels are still the mainstay, and hotels are a great investment. Very high profit margins in hotels when done well.
Yeah, I completely agree. The hotels are the great investment. So, as you were talking about the corporate culture at Peachtree, if I ask you in general, do you think a hotel company culture is built more on motivation or on money or benefits?
Well, it's all of the above. I think the culture. Another company I was with, I was in a position with them where I was trying to, I guess, sort of mold the culture, but I guess you can't really to the person that told me, to his point, he said, the culture is what it is. The culture just is what it is. You can't mold it into anything. And so, I like that organic approach. That culture sort of is just created based on what is injected into it and what's around, and those benefits are a part of that. And there is one great benefit that makes Peachtree stand out, that they gave to the GMs and the DOSs. It wasn't above property only benefit before, but about two years ago, I think, they opened it up to GMs and DOSs, and now we get a vacation reimbursement. So every year I can go on a really nice vacation because I'm going to get a good chunk of that back after I send in my receipts. So that's really cool. Not only do I get to get paid for going on vacation because I use my paid time off, but I also get to write off my hotels and flights, food, activities, all kinds of things fall under that.
As you are the general manager at AC Austin Hill, so what are your main responsibilities? How many rooms does the hotel have? And what are some of the high quality amenities your hotel offers to guests?
Well, we are the AC Hotel Austin Hill Country, as you said, and we're in a very, very nice area of Austin and Southwest Austin. I call it bougie. It's very high end over here. Our property is a boutique AC hotel, Marriott Hotel. The AC Hotel brand is it appeals to a very large audience, unlike, let's say, the Aloft, which I also adore that brand. The Aloft is very narrow compared to the target base for the AC. You know, uh, it's a boutique, like I said, 135 rooms. We're not huge, but people come here because of the atmosphere. We have gorgeous views of the hill country. We can also see downtown. We have a really nice rooftop bar called Violet Sky. That's our own concept, that we can kind of have some liberty and freedom to be creative and do what we want to with that space. And kind of going through a little bit of rebranding it at the moment, just to bring on, we're broadening our hours, we're broadening our lunch operations, and just doing a lot to hopefully capture more covers, capture more revenue, and really enhance that space. We're also doing a really exciting mural up there right now, in partnership with the Austin Creative Alliance. We're trying to build awareness for them as they try to acquire a historic building in Austin for everything artists in Austin. It's a great, great community organization. And they helped us find an amazing artist who we have right now. I don't want to give out too many secrets, but we'll do an official unveiling with the Austin Chamber in November 14th. So stay tuned for more information on that. But the mural is already in progress and it looks amazing. It's already transformed the whole space up there. So we're all very excited about that. But I would say that's probably our top amenity. Besides, we have meeting space. We do cater to groups. Our food is excellent. Working in a select service realm for so long, this is the first select service brand where food quality is on par, if not better, than some full service hotels. It's really, really good food and beverage here. Excellent quality. And the team gets to be creative and come up with their own things, which is something we really engender as well.
If a guest is a foodie person, they will definitely come and stay at your hotel, right?
Yes, we do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have snacks 24/7. So you won't go hungry staying here.
Your hotel is a boutique hotel, right? So does your hotel allow pets?
We do. We do allow pets. We have a pet policy. There's a fee involved, but we do allow our furry friends, and they're sometimes better than the guests. Everyone on the team just adores pets, whether it's dogs or cats. So we primarily have guests with dogs, but yes, you'll see our team members going out, petting them, greeting them. They definitely make the day fun.
When it comes to hotel room pricing, so how do you guys set your hotel room pricing strategy? It is more seasonable.
Well, I don't want to dispel any of our secrets, but we're the rate leaders for our competitive set pretty much since we opened. Just a lot of that has to do with our location in this niche area that we're in. Um, but because we're in a high end area, we can drive a higher rate. Again, I go back to guest scores. If we didn't have the guest feedback and the scores that we have, we wouldn't be able to drive the rates to the level that we can. But we are in high demand. We have guests that come back to stay with us every single week. They love our team. That's usually called out more than anything else is the quality of our team. But I would say, of course, we look at the competitive set. We do have reporting and analysis. Of course, technology provides so much of that and automates so much of that for us today, which is great. And we can, easily see where all of our area hotels are positioned in terms of price so that we can stay competitive in that regard. Of course, demand, occupancy, supply and demand, that always factors in. But I would say that's the bulk of our strategy is just positioning ourselves appropriately in the market.
First thing first, you talked about guest scores, that how it is the ultimate KPI. So how can hotels use technology to up those scores and achieve, increased guest scores?
I think technology can help. That's a great question, cousin, first of all. And I'm very passionate about everything that you brought up, especially guest scores. But, you know, where I would like to see technology, and it hasn't quite gotten there yet, but I know it will, I have faith, is making our jobs easier, right? Kind of as I mentioned earlier with Maria, just minimizing those monotonous tasks, those transactional tasks that really take our team away from the face-to-face guest focus. I'm all for the robot revolution. I would love a robot that can do my job. I will take 5 of them as soon as that's ready. But right now we're just inundated with technology. It's blurring the line between when work ends and our personal lives begin. And my team now has to pull up 5 different windows on one PC to be in tune with everything that they need to manage in their day and on their checklist, which is on another browser. So, while in theory technology is supposed to streamline everything and make everything easier, it's not quite there yet. And I hope with AI and further automation, technology is going to get there to where it actually frees us up to be personal with our guests and enhance the guest scores that way. I think technology will make things more efficient for guests. Guests love efficiency, and like mobile key, you can't get any more efficient with the check-in process than that. I mean, maybe you can, but that's a very efficient check-in process, and that's what guests want when they're checking in. They want it to be fast and efficient. They want the friendliness, but fast and efficient generally trumps that. They'd rather just get to their room, and they'll deal with the friendliness later, because you're going to interact with a staff member at some point, and it better be good when they do.
You also mentioned something earlier regarding that hospitality is a very profitable business if done well. Is same true for technology? That is it only beneficial if it is done well?
Well, I mean, technology, I feel like, is becoming, if I'm understanding correctly, technology seems to become less expensive over time. So as technology evolves, by default, it's saving money to the bottom line, and I think that's inherent in technology's design. That's really why we innovate. is to save time and save money. So yes, of course, technology is going to help be profitable.
And also because we have had some guests on our podcast who were from very independent hotels, and they obviously had some advantages when it comes to technology. They can be more experimental. They are free to test out new things. So, but when it comes to a brand, a well-known brand, because before they implement new technologies, it is tested, it is standardized. They have their own ecosystem. So, how beneficial is that for any new technology to be implemented?
It's hard for me to speak to that because I don't work for an independent hotel, so I really don't see that side of it. But I know what you're talking about. Like in the Airbnb space, for example, you've got Verbo, you've got these other chat uh, products. But I feel like being with a premium brand, even though everything is standardized, I feel like Marriott in particular, because it's a global brand, because they have so many resources, they're able to tap into technology as an early pioneer and really take hold of that and spread it out to the masses in a much more efficient way than, say, a local startup might be able to, or a smaller hotel company. So, while I'm not going to say Marriott's always right, but, I think being a huge global brand that they are, they've got the resources to do it well and execute well. That they're also going to be going through some big technology enhancements over the next couple of years with their systems that I'm sure will be integrating AI and some of those new technologies.
And if we look at it from a guest point of view, so what does a modern guest expect from a hotel in terms of technology?
What does a modern guest expect? Well, our guests are very modern. That's actually one of the AC's core values is modern. So our guests are very modern. That's our essentialist, and I think our staff is also modern. But our modern guests, like I said, fast and efficient check-in. They want to get in quickly. They want, the basics need to be there: clean room, friendly service. But from a modern technology approach, they want Wi-Fi. However, it doesn't seem to be as big of a deal as it used to be. People carry Wi-Fi with them now. So if ours goes down, which sadly it happens, they're not they don't complain as much as it used to be. If we had an outage, everyone was in a tizzy. But now it's like the internet goes out and I'm just waiting for it. I'm waiting for the guests to start complaining, and I'm like, no one's called me yet. So I'm seeing a trend of guests really starting to rely on their own systems now, for better, for worse. So I think that might change how new hotels are built and how they might look at networking in the future. I think it's still going to be critical to have a good Wi-Fi signal, and I'm sure bandwidth is still going to grow in size. But there is a trend where people are relying on their own.
Is that a generational thing? Because the new generation, they have much more devices to carry. They are carrying their own Wi-Fi, and possibly they don't want go to the front desk and talk to people. They just want a remote check-in and everything. Is it a generational thing, or is it true for everyone?
That's a good question. I've got two kids. I've got a teenager and a preteen, and they are very intuitive with devices and new technology. So I'm already feeling left behind, which is something I never wanted to say, but I see it happening when my kids are all over their devices. I do think it's impacted how we communicate, for sure. But I would say our clientele is an older crowd. Our brand, like I did say, it is a broader target audience, but our age groups vary anywhere from late 20s to potentially 50s and beyond. They're entrepreneurial people, so they're already very adept at using technology because it's part of their business. We have a lot of business people here. We're surrounded by big tech companies. a bunch of semiconductor companies all around us. So our guests are already very ingrained with technology and pretty much on autopilot when they're here. They know what they're doing. They know what to expect. It's not their first rodeo. So they really don't have a lot of demands for us and the hotel. They know what they're doing.
One thing that everyone is talking about is AI and big data. So you talked about pricing. So how can big data and AI be beneficial for, in personalization, uh, room pricing? How can it change the way we do our business today?
I think the opportunities with AI are potentially endless, and automation and AI automation. It's so exciting to just see, we're only scratching the surface with AI, and just to see how much it's done already, and how valuable of a tool it's become for all of us. It's like the calculator, but it does so much more than just numbers. And but pricing, I would say that the focus from a hospitality and big brand standpoint right now with AI is on the customer facing side, to really enhance the guest experience by streamlining their preferences, their profiles. All that information gets just reorganized and streamlined so that when they come to the hotel, everything is ready for them that meets their preferences already, the room they wanted. All of that guesswork is sort of taken out of the whole process. So I think in terms of that, it's really going to help the guest focus.
One thing else that I want to know is that because technology is advancing at such a rapid pace, so what would be your suggestion to new hotels that are being built? What should they do so they can cope up with this new technologies in the future?
Well, I have this crazy idea. I need some capital and some engineers to make it take off, but I'd love to have a fully robotic hotel. Again, kind of going back to the monotony of daily tasks, and I'm not trying to remove anyone's jobs or anything like that. I think technology only enhances job growth and creates new opportunities so that we're not having to do these hard jobs that are physically demanding and potentially harmful, if not done correctly. So, housekeeping, as we talked about, is a very hard job. It's the backbone of the industry, but it's a very taxing job physically, and if hotels can find a way to remove the hazards of that monotonous, task-focused, routine work, like a bed that can make itself, a self-cleaning bathroom, any of these ideas that could essentially require that developers look at how they build hotels differently in order to make the inner workings of those mechanisms work together.
We have people with very polarizing opinion on these new technologies. But do you think our industry has enough space for all of these things to coexist? We can have hotels that are fully robotic, and we can have hotels they are fully traditional. There is room for everybody.
I think so. I think so. I don't know. It's an interesting question. I have to give it a lot more thought. That's a great topic to talk about. But I believe there's always going to be a need to get away from technology. And I think that can be a critical space for a successful property that really focuses on that need. When we want to go on vacation, like I went to Culebra and I absolutely loved it, a little island off of Puerto Rico, and gorgeous beaches. And of course, I went there because I wanted to be away from everybody. I wanted to be away from everything and just completely shut off. So the odd thing is there's no hotels out there really. It's all Airbnbs. But I do believe that there will be a need for that, to just turn off and get away from all technology. But I think the vast majority will have to stay in the precipice of what's happening.
After pandemic, we did have a severe shortage of trained staff in the hospitality industry. So now, how important is the staff training for getting great guest scores?
It is critical. It is critical. There's basics, and the great thing about guest scores is the human condition really doesn't change. While technology evolves and everything else is changing around us, humans are still very caveman. We have the same emotions that we've always had. And so catering to that psychology and to those emotions of our guests is kind of always the same. So if you can understand the basics of guest scores and what makes guests happy, you can execute those basics every day. So yes, training is critical because even though um, it's underlying, it's foundational. New hotel members don't know this stuff. They don't know how to take care of a guest issue. They don't know the steps of proper service recovery and that it actually works when you start using it. And what to say to a guest, because sometimes what you need to say might feel uncomfortable, but it works. And so you have to show them and teach them, like, hey, do it this way, say it this way, because it is a psychology of guest satisfaction. So if you can wrap their minds around it and how it works, which easier said than done, but yes, training is always crucial for that reason.
As we were discuss your career journey earlier, and we came to know you started your career as a housekeeping supervisor. So you have an idea. Like last week, it was a housekeeping appreciation week, and every hotel was celebrating housekeeping appreciation week with their staff. So if I ask your advice for young professionals, those are planning to start their career in the housekeeping department, so what advice would you suggest to them?
If someone's starting out in the housekeeping department, well, I would obviously tell them that's how I started, and so it's very feasible to move up quickly from that position. Um, you've got to embrace it. I embraced everyone on my team spoke Spanish except me and my boss in the department, but everyone else on my team spoke Spanish. So I was taking a leadership role and having to learn how to speak to my team, um, which was not easy at first, but it motivated me. It drove me. I was determined to make sure I was able to communicate with them effectively. And that's what drove me to learn the language. So, that's probably what I would say. If it's not someone that's already speaking that language, learn the language, learn a valuable skill that's going to um, position you up a lot higher for any future opportunities just because you have that language. And language is not an easy thing to learn, but if you're fully immersed in a situation like that where it's a new language for you and you're working with these individuals in this new culture, new to you every single day, that's like an immersive language experience. So you could take advantage of that. But yeah, that would definitely help elevate someone to have job growth.
You are aware of many hospitality events that are happening. So, do you think attending hospitality conferences events help hoteliers and tech companies grow their businesses and build a relationship with industry leaders?
Yes, I would love to go to more conferences personally. If Peachtree wants to send me, I'll go. No, I enjoy conferences. As I mentioned, the Marriott GM conference that they have every 2 years now. Well, they have a virtual one on the off years, but those in-person conferences are just so informative. Getting to go to the expo booths and seeing all of the different products that are out there. Any new innovations, just learning about all of that, having the workshops to talk about those new innovations. It's very critical. It's part of the learning process. So if you want to stay on top of what's going on today in the industry, those events are the windows to understanding that.
When you were starting out your career, were there any hospitality individual who influenced your career path? So, can you talk about them?
Yes, I'd love to. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Teddy Rodriguez, and I hope he listens to this. But he gave me my start, really. I mean, I was a housekeeping supervisor at the Stanley Hotel, and that was my first time getting any sort of leadership position. But that was before Teddy started. But he came onto the Stanley as a general manager during my time there, and he noticed me. And really started to lean on me and promoted me to the assistant housekeeping director. And then when my housekeeping director left, he promoted me to the executive position. So he really launched my career in that regard and gave me those stepping stones. And he still stays in touch with me today on LinkedIn. So it's great to see, everything he's doing and what he's doing. Even though he's left the industry, he's still very proud of me, and I can't thank him enough. And then when I got with White Lodging, my mentor, who really taught me all those basics I was talking about before, that just seem like common sense once you understand them. But I had no idea before I met Nathan Park. And rest his soul, unfortunately, he passed away from cancer about 10 years ago. But I hope his legacy goes on with me. I'll never be Nathan Park. He was an amazing leader, but he taught me so much. He taught me how to hire people, which is really, I would say, my key to my personal success is just hiring great people. It solves a lot of problems right from the get-go. And he taught me that, again, a common sense thing. Of course, only hire good people. That makes sense. But to actually use tools and to put it into play and to see why and to understand why you want to be very deliberate in your hiring and use whatever tools you can to analyze your candidates before you make that decision. Because as he said, he would say, hold out for a superstar. It's like, it's better if you just keep covering shifts, even though it's grueling. He's like, it's better to keep covering shifts than to hire someone mediocre or a bad hire, because a bad hire can take the whole team down. One person can take the whole team down. And you're kind of stuck with that person until you can coach them out, which is not always easy to do. So if you can get your hiring right from square one, and it's not a perfect science, it's still very complicated and very nuanced, but if you can get hiring right, it saves a lot of trouble. And he also said, if you're fully staffed and a superstar walks in the door, make room for them, because someone's going to leave eventually, and you don't see superstars every day. They're a diamond in the rough, but those are the people that you want to look for and hire.
Yeah, I completely agree. As you said, like we did not see superstar every day. So that keep in mind, what piece of advice did they give you that stick in your mind and you won't forget it? Can you share that with us?
Well, that piece right there is probably the most important. As I said, hiring is my whole bag. If I can hire right, my whole life is much easier. I will spend time recruiting from home on my off time, just because I have to get in front of it. The way I see it is, I'll lose some personal time to effectively gain time in the long run by using this time to hire someone that I need right now, because it is a painstaking process to go through so many candidates and really scrub those resumes and then have them in for multiple interviews and then all of the other things that go with it. And hiring today is probably more difficult than it was before. I've seen the ups and downs in the industry since since I got on 2001. So that's a couple of decades of seeing the labor industry shift. And I remember a day when my lobby would be full of people filling out applications when I posted one job. And now you post a job, and going through the pandemic, you were lucky to get one applicant online, and then hopefully they call you back. And now when I schedule people for interviews, it's a good 50-50 that they're going to show up or not. So it's definitely a different labor climate than what it used to be. But he gave me a lot of nuggets. It kind of caught me off guard. He had a lot of really, really great methods and ways of doing things. And like I said, he taught me so much.
That was impressive. And as you said, that the industry facing ups and downs. So, right after pandemic, what challenges do you think our industry facing during those times?
Right after the pandemic, well, of course, labor, as we mentioned, was a huge challenge. We were opening this hotel in 2021 and it had been delayed so many times. A lot of that was because of the construction labor, which is still a struggle for developers. And, the labor market has eased. I knock on wood, but I actually have a full staff now, and it's been pretty solid all year. I haven't had much turnover, a lot of great retention, great quality candidates that are on my team right now. So things have turned around, but yes, at the height of the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, trying to open a hotel in 2021, we had a hiring event. I think we had maybe 3 people show up, and they were people that we had already called and contacted, and out of everyone that we had reached out to, we only had 3 people come to the event. I think we hired all 3 of those people. but it was a challenge. It was really challenging, especially for someone who just wants to hire good people. And it came down to, well, this is what's available, and I'm gonna have to make it work.
As you have been in the hospitality industry for many years, and even you won AC Hotel DM of the Year. So, what skills do you think are essential for a great hotel journal manager, and what your golden piece of advice for journal managers that will increase staff productivity, improving hotel operations, and enhancing guest happiness? So, what would you suggest to them?
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of things. But a lot of people tell me I have a lot of passion. So I would say, and I didn't really understand that I did, but I do get that now. I think you have to be passionate about moving forward, moving the needle forward, right? If you're complacent with the way things are, well, what fun is that, first of all? But you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to perform very highly if you're just okay with the status quo. And I don't think I've ever been really okay with the status quo. And of course, thanks to Nathan Park, my mentor, who taught me to always strive to be the best. I've carried that with me, and I think that's what a good leader needs to have is, they've got a vision for the future of where they want to move the organization. And, then you've got to try to get everyone on the same page. And that's not always easy. I try to communicate. I try to find new and better ways to communicate. That's always a big area of contention. Every problem that seems to arise among my team or even with guests, it almost can always be pinpointed to communication. There was some breakdown in communication, a miscommunication, something of that nature. So, we're always trying to find new and better ways to communicate with each other. I tend to over communicate. I tend to repeat myself a lot for that reason, because I know, the message doesn't always stick, as someone doesn't always hear it. There's different people every day. So I kind of have to say the same thing over and over for a few days to make sure the message gets out to everyone. And even still, it may not always reach everyone it needs to. So still room for improvement there. But getting everyone on the same page to effectively get to your vision is critical. So delegating is a great method, right? It's not hey, I don't want to do the job, so I'm gonna make you do it. It's I don't get anything out of it if I do the work, right? I just get more stress because I already have enough to do. But if I give this task to someone else, now they're learning something, and now they're able to do something new and take that next step. So as much as I can, I want to try to, share the load with everyone so that everyone can learn what it takes to be a general manager. I think it ends up backfiring, and a lot of people say they don't want to be a GM, but I think it's great. I think it's rewarding. I understand from some perspectives it might look really stressful and overwhelming, and I guess it can be if you haven't tapped into your team correctly and learned to delegate correctly.
Thank you for sharing that. One last thing, then we will wrap our conversation. So, other than work, what activities do you do to stay active that maintain a stress-free lifestyle?
Stress-free. Well, I have 2 kids, so I don't know how stress-free that is, but they keep me very busy outside of work. And I enjoy reading. I'm online. I'm on Reddit and LinkedIn a lot. Um, and yeah, my vacation reimbursement is definitely useful for having a stress-free experience. A week in Culebra was definitely what I needed. So it's important to be able to break away, um, and be able to set boundaries. This is a 24/7 operation. It can eat you up and tear you up inside if you let it, because it's nonstop. It really is nonstop. So as much as you want to give yourself to it, you can, but you've also got to save yourself for your own time that you need. And that's a valuable lesson I've learned over time, with everything. I'm also involved with the city of Hutto. I have an old residence there, so I still participate in their Parks Advisory Board meetings. I'm going to a city council meeting after this downtown for Austin, in hopes I might be able to join one of their boards here soon. But I like to get involved with the local community, in whatever way I can. I think volunteering is really important as well.
It was an honor to have you on our podcast. We really enjoyed your insightful conversation with us, and I'm sure our audience did too.
Well, I hope so. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show, and I hope it helps inspire some people.
I hope you enjoyed watching today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interviews with industry leaders. Follow us on our social media at Advanced Hospitality Technologies. See you with another guest. Till then, take care and have a great day.